In the history of American music, few people have been called the genius and meant it. Not as a compliment, not as hyperbole, but as a genuine, sober assessment of a person's relationship with sound, with culture, with the invisible architecture of what makes music matter. Kanye West is one of those people. He produced 1/3 of Jay-Z's most celebrated album before anyone knew his name. He made his debut record with his jaw wired shut after a car crash that nearly killed him. He reinvented hip-hop's sonic vocabulary, not once, not twice, but across a decade of albums that critics ranked among the greatest of their generation. He built a fashion empire worth $2 billion. He married one of the most famous women in the world. He sold out stadiums on 6 continents. And then, in the space of about 12 months, he lost nearly everything. The Adidas deal, the Gap deal, the Balenciaga deal, the talent agency, the record label, the $1.5 billion, the reputation that had taken 20 years to build. All of it gone. What happened to Kanye West is not a simple story about a man who said terrible things and faced consequences. It is a story about what happens when extraordinary genius and untreated mental illness share the same mind. About what grief does when it has nowhere to go. About the ways in which the music industry and the culture around it profits from a person's brilliance while failing utterly to address the crisis inside them. This is the complete story of Kanye West. All of it. The music, the pain, the collapse, and what comes after. Chapter 1. Atlanta to Chicago. Growing up without a father, 1977 to 1994. June 8, 1977, Atlanta, Georgia. Kanye West was born to Ray West and Donda Williams West. His father, Ray, was a photojournalist and a former member of the Black Panther Party, a man of deep political conviction and artistic sensibility. His mother, Donda, was an English professor, a woman whose love of language, literature, and learning would become the foundational architecture of his son's entire inner life. The marriage did not last. When Kanye was 3 years old, his parents divorced. Donda took her son to Chicago, where she had accepted a teaching position at Chicago State University. Ray West remained largely absent from Kanye's daily life, not hostile, but not present in the ways that a child needs a father to be present. Kanye grew up in the South Shore neighborhood on Chicago's South Side. It was a working-class community, shaped by the same economic pressures and social dynamics that shaped most of Black America in the late 1970s and early 1980s. But the West household was different in a specific way. Donda filled it with books, with music, with the expectation that her son would think deeply, originally, without apology. She read to him, she pushed him, she told him he was brilliant before he had done anything to prove it, and she believed it so completely that the belief became self-fulfilling. At age 7, Kanye was writing rap lyrics. By age 10, he was teaching himself to draw. When his mother accepted a temporary teaching position in Nanjing, China, 10-year-old Kanye went with her, living abroad for a year, exposed to a completely different culture, developing the kind of perspective that most American children from the South Side of Chicago never have access to. He came back more curious, more restless, more convinced that the world was larger than anyone around him was allowing themselves to imagine. At 14, he bought his first keyboard with money he had saved from his allowance. He began making beats in his bedroom, learning the technical language of production the way other teenagers learn sports, obsessively, privately, with total seriousness. He saved enough money to convince his mother to pay for studio time, a small basement studio in Chicago where he met a producer named Ernest Dion Wilson, known in the hip-hop world as No ID. No ID was already regarded as a legend in Chicago hip-hop circles. He saw something in the teenage Kanye and became, effectively, his mentor. He taught him not just technique, but taste, the difference between music that was technically correct and music that was alive. Kanye attended American Academy of Art on a scholarship, then transferred to Chicago State University, his mother's institution, to study English literature. He was good at school in the way that people are good at things they don't fully need. His real education was happening in the studio, at night, on weekends, every available hour. At 20 years old, he made a decision that his mother supported even when it frightened her. He dropped out of college to pursue music full-time. Donda West, the English professor who had built her life on education, told her son to go follow his dream. That relationship, that extraordinary particular relationship between a mother and her son, is the emotional core of everything that comes after. When Kanye West is at his best, you can hear it. When he is at his worst, you can see the shape of the hole that losing her left behind.
In 2012, Kanye West began a relationship with Kim Kardashian, one of the most famous women in America, a reality television star and businesswoman whose influence on popular culture was enormous and whose critics were equally numerous. They were a true power couple in the tabloid sense, two of the most recognized people on the planet, their relationship documented obsessively in magazines and on social media. They married in a ceremony in Florence, Italy in May 2014. They had 4 children together: North, Saint, Chicago, and Psalm. Simultaneously, Kanye was building something that had never existed before in hip-hop, a genuine, high-fashion brand. Yeezy began as a collaboration with Nike, a sneaker that generated more hype than almost any footwear product in history. When the Nike deal ended, Kanye took the brand to Adidas. The resulting Adidas-Yeezy partnership, signed in 2013, became one of the most valuable fashion collaborations ever assembled. Yeezy products generated an estimated $2 billion in annual revenue, roughly 10% of Adidas's total sales. Kanye West was, by 2016, a billionaire, one of the very few musicians in history to achieve that designation, and he was not quiet about it. Yeezus, his 2013 album, was an aggressive, industrial, abrasive record that sounded like a man who had decided that approval was no longer something he needed. It was provocative by design. It generated controversy, divided critics, and connected with a younger audience that admired the willingness to be difficult. His 2016 album, The Life of Pablo, was released through a chaotic process that included last-minute changes, songs being updated after release, and a public rollout that was part artistic experiment, part spectacle. It debuted at number 1. But by the fall of 2016, something was visibly wrong. November 2016. Kanye West's St. Pablo tour was in the middle of its North American run. He was performing 30 to 40 concerts a month. He had been sleeping very little. He was, by multiple accounts from people around him, deteriorating in visible ways, his behavior on stage becoming increasingly erratic, his public statements becoming stranger, his judgment harder to trust. On November 19, 2016, he canceled the remaining dates of the St. Pablo tour. On November 21st, police were called to his home after a report of a medical emergency. Kanye West was taken to Ronald Reagan UCLA Medical Center. He was held for 9 days, during which he received for the first time a formal diagnosis of bipolar disorder. He was 39 years old. He had been living with an undiagnosed condition, potentially for decades, in one of the highest pressure, highest scrutiny environments that exists in modern life. Bipolar disorder is a serious mental health condition characterized by extreme shifts in mood, energy, and cognition. During manic episodes, a person may feel invincible, sleep very little, speak rapidly,
make impulsive decisions, and be convinced that their judgment is sharper than it has ever been. The very qualities that can make a bipolar person magnetic and creative and impossible to ignore in their manic phases are the same qualities that lead to the catastrophic decisions that follow. Kim Kardashian, in her 2020 statement, described the condition with evident pain. She said, "When you're manic, you don't think you're sick," quoting Kanye. "When you're not manic, you are completely yourself, and that's when the wreckage of what happened hits hardest." He left the hospital, he recovered, he continued working, and for a period, through his Sunday service movement, through his 2019 gospel album Jesus is King, which won the Grammy for Best Contemporary Christian Music Album, a category that virtually no mainstream hip-hop artist had ever occupied, he seemed to outside observers more stable than he had been in years, more grounded, more genuinely peaceful. But the crisis of 2016 had not resolved. It had paused. 2019. In January 2019, Kanye West began holding Sunday service, weekly musical gatherings that combined choir performance, gospel music, and elements of a worship service. They were held in various locations: his home in Calabasas, the Coachella Desert during the music festival, a field in Wyoming. They were open to limited guests and occasionally live-streamed. The Sunday service gatherings were, by almost all accounts, genuinely beautiful. Massive choirs, reimagined versions of his own songs as gospel music, a quality of spiritual sincerity that was hard to fake. Jesus is King, released in October 2019, was a full gospel rap album, another reinvention, another left turn, another demonstration that Kanye West would never simply repeat himself. It debuted at #1. It became the first album to top the Billboard 200, the Christian albums, and the gospel albums charts simultaneously. It won the Grammy for Best Contemporary Christian Music Album, a category that virtually no mainstream hip-hop artist had ever occupied. The public reception was divided, as it was with Kanye. Some saw a genuine transformation, others were skeptical, waiting for the next eruption. But then, in 2021, Kim Kardashian filed for divorce. The marriage had been under enormous strain for a long time. The mental health episodes, the presidential campaign in 2020, a genuine attempt to run for president of the United States that generated massive media coverage and, among those closest to him, significant alarm. The ongoing erratic public behavior. Kim Kardashian cited irreconcilable differences. The divorce was finalized in late 2022. With the marriage ending, Kanye's remaining stabilizing forces were being stripped away one by one, and what came next would be the most damaging period of his life. The months following the divorce proceedings were a period of sustained public crisis. Kanye harassed Kim's new boyfriend, comedian Pete Davidson, in a series of social media posts that were alarming in their intensity. He posted, deleted, and reposted content that attacked Davidson personally in terms that went well beyond celebrity gossip. He wore a White Lives Matter shirt to a Paris fashion show in October 2022 alongside conservative commentator Candace Owens, a deliberate provocation that drew immediate, widespread condemnation. And then, in a series of interviews and social media posts in October 2022, Kanye West made a cascade of explicit, unambiguous anti-Semitic statements. He said he would go DEFCON 3 on Jewish people. He promoted anti-Semitic conspiracy theories. He appeared on podcasts and repeated dangerous falsehoods about Jewish people and power. He declared, "I can say anti-Semitic things and Adidas can't drop me." He was wrong. Within weeks, the consequences arrived in total. Adidas terminated the Yeezy partnership, losing an estimated $2 billion in annual revenue from the deal. The cost to Adidas alone was $246 million in 2022. Gap severed ties. Balenciaga severed ties. CAA, his talent agency, dropped him as a client. His record label ended their relationship. Planned concerts were canceled. Social media platforms suspended his accounts. Forbes estimated that Kanye West's net worth dropped from $2 billion to approximately $400 million in the span of roughly 30 days. He had lost $1.5 billion, the product of decades of creativity, of innovation, of building something genuinely unprecedented in the history of hip-hop fashion, in 1 month. The Anti-Defamation League reported that at least 30 hate incidents could be directly linked to the spread of his statements. In Los Angeles, a group held a banner on a freeway overpass that read, "Kanye is right about the Jews," while performing Nazi salutes. The real-world consequences of the words were immediate and horrifying. He had not just damaged himself, he had caused harm to others. In 2023, Kanye West married Bianca Censori, an Australian architectural designer who had worked at Yeezy. The marriage was not legally registered in the United States, but was confirmed by both parties. Their public appearances became themselves a subject of significant controversy, with Bianca frequently photographed in provocative styling choices that generated debate about agency and influence. The years of 2023 and 2024 were, by most measures, a continued period of turbulence. The anti-Semitic statements continued sporadically. The business consequences of 2022 were not reversed. The cultural rehabilitation that some might have expected did not materialize. And then, in January 2026, something happened that nobody had seen coming.